my B side check valve, all that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put my seals on my inner and outer piston. On the small piston, there are 3. You need all of them. The first one goes on pretty easy. The second one has a little bit more trouble. You can usually get it to roll down part of the way, and then you take a pick, and be careful not to damage your O-ring, because if you cut it, it will no longer work right. You just have to put another one on if you damage it, but try to make sure you pay attention to that. So now same thing. The third one is even a little bit more of a pain. You kind of got to pull it down. Alright, so I've got those 3 on there. It also gets one around the large circle on the back. So you got an O-ring there and 3 here. I'm going to take a little bit of grease on my finger, and I'm going to put a very light coating around those O-rings. You don't want to use too much because then it gets jammed in there. Then you can shove it right down inside the large piston. Now it's time to put the locking ring back on. This can be tricky, but honestly, once you get the hang of it, it's no big deal. You want to make sure that's seated in there well. Sometimes those try to pop off if they get bent, so try not to bend them taking them off or putting them on. You want to be gentle with that. Now, this gets a seal here, here, and here. These are easy to put on. No big deal. Just make sure they go on there. If not, you'll know because the second you fire the gun up and put clear shot in it, you will empty the entire tube of clear shot. So I've got those on. I'm going to put a little bit more grease around this big fat one and a light coating around those other ones. Be careful not to get grease shoved in the ports. If you clog them up, you have problems. Now this can go in the main housing of the gun. You want to make sure that's angled that way. This, I throw a little grease on the edge like that, just in case I did end up with a leak and some got on there, I can still get that off. Now you've got that piece, the back housing, like variable flow, whatever, I don't know what that's called. Now this goes in at an angle and turns, and now you're good. I'm not going to put the clear shot tube back in there yet. I'm going to take my air hose. I forgot we did the trigger on this too. So here's my trigger. It takes 5 O-rings. They are difficult to get on there. You have to use your pick and be careful not to damage them, kind of like the second and third O-rings on the inner piston. You can get it on the front part pretty easy. I have broke several of these trying to get it on there, but the good news is if you use the right O-rings on here, you really don't have to change or clean the trigger assembly, if that's what they call it. It's got a different name, I think. I've got my little booklet there, but we just call it the trigger. There's 5 of them on there. Make sure you put them all on there. This is what doses your clear shot. Those ports. And you want to make sure those ports are clear. I did not blow it out before I started putting this on, but I can still do that after. Like I said, these are a little bit of a pain. Once you get towards the bottom, you can roll it on there. Grease this also. very little. You don't want to get the ports mixed up, and if you put too much grease there, your air flows through here, and so if there's anything in your air, it will eventually build up and make this trigger not work. Since I didn't blow it out before, I will do that now. Dropping things. Now, you can barely even see the grease on there because you just want a light coating. Shove that back through the trigger. Use your pick to push it all the way down. Don't forget your spring. I have forgot that spring before and somehow it still worked. Or maybe it didn't. I don't remember. But don't forget the spring. And if you do this in the field, make sure you don't lose that spring. So now you have your gun together. I'm going to put it on locking. Not that there's any danger. I'm going to look. What I'm looking for there is for that to move freely and easily. Now I'm going to put it on wide open as if I were spraying. And what I'm looking for there is for it to move freely further back like it's supposed to. Now at this point, I can put the clear shot back in the gun. Put that in there. When I plugged that in, I didn't see any clear shot coming out, which means I've got all my seals on there like I'm supposed to. I like to hook air up to this and rotate it a few times so those side seals get good on that tip. Now I'll bag it up. And leave it on the workbench for the guys to pick up in the morning or put it in the trailer. And it's ready to go. So that's the reassembly, the best way I know. If you need seal kits, I've got sets we can put together using the stuff that I know works. And they'll get you a 2 to 3 week gun. 2 week is where I like to be, but I have gone 3. And it's way, way cheaper than the Graco ones. I don't even know how much the Graco ones cost. It's been so long since I bought them. But I do remember that the last time I needed to order these, I was going to order some from Graco for the trigger because I was having troubles with it. And it was like $60 for 6 of these. Whereas I can get them for, you know, just a few dollars. So anyway, that'll work. We'll talk to you next time.